So here we are back with the adventure process writing, and I've been sitting with this for a couple days now, just kind of looking over this and absorbing it, and came up with another minor addition I wanted to add. So that's the benefit of this little setup, I guess. Writing adventure, you can throw something down, get the base done in 45 minutes to an hour, and then you can sit on it for a couple days before your next game. And you can tweak and refine things before your next game. So I was thinking that we've got our 4 situations, if you recall. One situation is the town where the players start out in. What they want is to get rid of the insectoid night attacks, and they've discovered a rift where these things came out of, so they want that closed. And what they have is a location, general location of the rift. Situation 2 is Coalition Deep Patrol, and they're snooping around looking for any lost tech in the ruins. What they want is to exterminate insectoids, and I'm going to add /DBs. And what they have is firepower, and their timer is extraction. They have a time when they have to be extracted to go home, and they could run out of ammo. Other situation is the insectoids themselves. What they're after is they feed on nuclear radiation, so they're looking for reactors. They're attracted to reactors. Let's skip over to situation 4 is the comms engineers were sent out to set up a relay tower out in the ruins, not far probably from the rift, and they've been mostly killed off. Probably we can play that off the cuff when we get there. How many will be still surviving, but the idea is they're trapped, surrounded by some sort of monster, possibly the insectoids, and they can't get out. So the PCs will hopefully go check on them, discover them, and free them. Now, what I was thinking was situation 5. There's one more situation, just to sweeten the deal or enrich this kind of sandbox playground we've got. Recall back here, I just made a quick list of some dangers that I could use for filler encounters. I see it as like we make our 4 situations, and the game will, this being our first adventure, we have to have more situations than we otherwise would have to be, since we're starting from nothing. If this was an ongoing game after we play through this, we might have these situations probably not all resolved, so they'll carry over to the next game. So then we'll just have to restock a couple more situations, possibly 2, instead of having to come up with 4 or 5. But for the first game, we'll make sure we've got lots of situations going on, and it's nice to have them cross-pollinate or kind of be dilemmas to each other. For instance, I was thinking maybe coalition situation can be used. These guys could be befriended, and they could help PCs do some bug killing. But the more I thought about it, there's also this. So if the PCs are trying to close off a rift, they might try demolitions to collapse the cave in on it, but that won't close the rift. It might make it hard to come through, but it's just a matter of time before those insects just kind of tunnel their way through the rubble and continue on. So the best thing to do would be to close the rift with the spell Close Rift. So I was thinking, why not take this gnome-like community of gnome-like community of DBs, of magic DBs. Thinking they're like herbivores, and thinking they kind of live in the forest, kind of in the ruins. There's lots of trees and growth for them. They kind of live in the trees. They have maybe some treehouse type dwellings. They're pretty primitive, but they do have innate magic abilities, so they are capable of closing a rift. So let's make them. I'm going to make these DBs gnome-like DBs. That's the who. I'll just write that in there. Who and what they want. Don't know yet. What they have is magic, and in brackets, close rift. And timer, not necessarily important for now. That could be come up with on the fly if we think of something during play, or on the next adventure if they survive. So this makes things even more contentious and interesting. We've got the characters could really use the help of the Coalition, and they could really use the help of the Gnome DBs to close the rift. If sometime throughout this adventure, if these two meet, the Coalition is going to try and exterminate the DB community. So that'll be interesting. We'll see how that plays out. How about we'll put the timer, what they want. How about they want protection from the Coalition. Timer, CS extermination. Let's go with that for now. We'll make it imminent. Yeah, there we go. To put the screws right to the players, so they'll have to make some decisions, some moral dilemma type decisions, maybe. I'd probably roll randomly as the characters. They'd set out from town probably, and I'd roll randomly to see what they encounter kind of first on their travels. Kind of one of, say 6 things. They could encounter the Coalition right away. They could encounter the DBs. They could encounter just some roving insectoids, or possibly, insectoids. It's right there as in the list. Or possibly these other monsters or dangers, like the Devil Serpent Tongue. I like that monster from the Rift's Bestiary. Let's just grab that. Or they could encounter the Sandworm or a Chupacabra. Yeah, all that good stuff. So let's see if we can get that Devil Serpent Tongue thing. Devil Serpent Tongue. Look at that guy. We don't want to mess with that thing. It's got 8 tentacles and 8 attacks, plus some claws and biting attacks. Good times. Okay. So, yeah, there we go. So, just one more bit of complication, one more situation injected into the adventure, and like I say, being the first adventure of a campaign, you do have to come up with a bit more material. But after this adventure, the rest should almost write itself. We'll see. All right, so next we're going to try and fill in this form that I've created. It's just kind of an adventure planning template. So nothing new to be added here, but I just thought I'd show that off here. This is kind of my version 2 of it, what it looks like currently, but it's still a work in progress, I suppose. So adventure number 1, we're going to fill out the name. I didn't really have a name in mind for this. Let's just call it bug swatting, because we've got to get rid of those insectoids. System is Rifts, GM is me, level 1, date, whatever. So I'll just go over this. I won't fill it all out completely, but we'll just kind of explain the idea here. Bring this over. So the situational web, this section here is meant to track all the situations that we've already created. And the idea being to get a nice list of things that are wanted by the different factions or players in the situation, all the situations here. So this would be, the first one we'll do the town. The next one was the coalition, CS Patrol. They're out in the ruins. Insectoids. Go over their situation. Another who was oh yeah, the DBs, gnome DBs, gnome-like DBs. I think I'm gonna actually want to make them a little more hideous, so that they're not quite obviously so benign. I want them to maybe appear a little more evil looking, but they will be ultimately pretty good dudes. And relay tower team. So these are the guys who are trapped out in the ruins, out in the wilderness. Okay, so their motivation, obviously set up tower and now get free, because now they're stuck, free from safe room. Okay, timer, we won't go into that yet. Motive, whatever. So I've added that. I wasn't really tracking that before in my handwritten template, but it's a nice little spot to just capture a sentence, so that while you're running the game, you've got that for reference if you can't remember it for whatever reason. Now here's the meat of the situational web here. So the town, what they want, well, let's start with has. Everybody has a has and a want. What they have is location of rift. That's about all they have. So we just do a connection there. What they want is exterminate insectoids. That's what they want. Draw a line there. And they also want, ultimately, to close rift. So we'll put another line to the wants there. I don't know if that's going to be possible. We'll see how the players play it out. I'm thinking, I may have mentioned this in the previous video, or in the previous section. I think these DBs will have the magic know-how to cast the Close Rift spell. So the characters can either persuade them to come help, or learn it from them, or whatever. That could be a whole separate adventure, really. The Coalition Patrol, haven't filled out their motivation yet, but what they want ultimately also would be to exterminate the insectoids. They're all about killing monsters from the rifts. What they have, well, they have firepower, I suppose. They have some firepower. I'm not sure if that's worth listing, because that's obvious, but we'll put it in here for example's sake. The insectoids, they have the rift. So the town wants the rift closed. We'll just put, I'll just point to that as well, just so we know that. So at a glance, we can see these connections that for this item here about the rift, we have people relying on that. It's going to affect the insectoids and the town. The idea of this is just for quick reference during play. Keep track of who wants what, who has what. what the insectoids want is reactors. They seem to be feeding off of them. That's what they want. Okay, and I'll fill that in. Actually, I'll just put that. Their motive is to feed off radiation. Okay, next up we've got the DBs, the gnome-like DBs. Their situation, they want they want protection from coalition. That's what the gnomes want. Easy enough. Or not, maybe not. We'll see how it plays out. Whoops, that's not what they have. That's what they want. Oh, I done screwed that up. Okay, that's fine. What they have is magic. So maybe I'll try and go over that like that. There we go. Correct my mistake. My bad. There we go. And last but not least, the relay tower gang. They want rescue. Free. So that's what they want. And what they have is the semi-functional tower. Oh, and they do have a safe room too. Safe room. I'll put that in there. I'm not sure if that's going to come into play really as a contended resource. But there it is. And I'll put right here. Semi-functional tower. Yes, sir. And that's what they have. So I'll use these multicolored pens are pretty useful for this kind of stuff. I highly recommend using them when doing this kind of planning. So there we go. I don't know how clear it is to see on there, but hopefully while I attempt to run my adventure off the cuff, improvisationally, I can refer to these at any time. Motivations come into question, and play things quickly. So yeah, so as before, I've got a spot, fill in a couple, as writing an adventure usually starts for me. I start with a couple tropes that I want to explore or play up, a couple riftisms, in the case of Palladium Rifts. And then I'll come up with a couple situations, and or skills are always next. If you can't come up with a situation, it's always good to just start writing in some character skills. For me, those were, I grabbed literacy. That's a funny one. Demolitions. What else we have? Burster. The Burster extinguish ability, so on and so forth. And I put, so we'd fill in dangers, constraints, list the dangers that we want to have available. So some of them would be already defined here, like the Coalition Patrol, the Insectoids, the Gnome DBs. They may or may not be dangerous, but they'll be listed here. And these are numbered so that you can roll randomly at any time. If you just need to, I find the most, it's got to be fun running these games too. And it's not that fun running a railroaded plot line where you've got scene A, scene B that you've got to play through. It's the whole idea of this is to get situations just kind of going on, just happening in the area. and we don't know how the characters are gonna handle these situations, and nor do we know or really care to know in this method in what order they encounter these issues. We have a starting point, basically a mission given from the town. They may or may not inform them of all these other situations. They may or may not know. It's up to the GM before he starts the game. I'd maybe decide that just before we start rolling. And then, so if our dangers are listed, I'd just roll a random encounter, see what the danger is. Dangers are, I had Chupacabra, so that'd be kind of a random monster. The gnome DBs, they might walk into a group of them, or their town, their little village or whatever, or an encampment, I guess it would be more. A sandworm-like creature. And then there's the insectoids. And there's a coalition. Oh, and I had Devil Serpent Tongue too. That's gonna be a fun monster. I can't wait to play that thing. So might make it a little more, so we don't have to use all 8. I've got 6, so I guess I could have put that there. I was thinking maybe it'd be nice to have the insectoids and the coalition be more likely to happen. So 4 and 6 maybe is insectoids, and 5 and 7 is CS. I don't know, I'll tweak that before we run. So during play, I would roll a danger, find out who it is, and then pick a skill. These will be numbered as well, so these could be rolled on if you're feeling very creative and able to improvise. And then I'd have a list of a few props just to get my brain started if I'm having a blank moment. But usually the skill and the danger will inform as to what potential props, like say we're fighting the Devil Serpent Tongue, and I choose or roll literacy as the skill to help win the encounter. Right away, props that come to mind would be like there's a sign, an old hanging sign, rusted, but it's still legible barely. Perhaps they'd probably be encountering this thing. We'll say they're underground, and they'd see a sign that says to street or something, like an old subway sign pointing the direction, like to the exit. These things like to be underground mostly, so maybe if they can make a run for it, they know because of the sign, they'll know how to run away from this thing or get up to the surface. Something like that. That informs the prop. Constraint, again, I've listed a few that I could work with. You can come up with these on the fly, but it's nice to have a fallback list, and those will be numbered so you can roll randomly as well during play. Rewards, MacGuffins, same thing. I'll have a pre-listed bunch of small rewards for winning an encounter if they fit. An obvious one for riffs is always pre-riffs items. While they're in that subway running from the Serpent Tongue, or if they kill the thing, they maybe find in its lair, because don't all good monsters hoard treasure? I don't know. Somewhere near its lair, they find some pre-riffs items, maybe some clothing, or something like that. Some old license plates, I don't know. Can be anything, really. Okay, likely seen locations. This is more of a, not necessarily have to hit these scenes or locations, but it's more of a list to just, in the heat of the moment, when the characters are just traveling through the wilderness and you're about to, you need to give them some adventure. We need to do something here. We can't just have them wandering, describing what the wilderness looks like. If you have a blank moment, we can throw up, grab a scene location. So I've listed some underground. There'll have to be some underground tunnels. Underground tunnels. they will sooner or later have to start looking for underground tunnels down towards the rift where the insectoids are. If they're going to try and solve that situation, that is. So that would be one to list here, just so we don't forget it. It's a major location for this adventure. Another one is the relay tower, and then just the ruins in general, above ground ruins, that is. Yeah, and I guess that's about it for this one. Maybe the DB camp. DB camp, that'd be another place I could see some stuff going down. Hopefully social in nature, but it could be the characters could just decide to go in there and mow them all down, or try to at least. Twists. I mentioned this when I created the adventure, when we went through and wrote all this up. Here's just a spot to record at least one twist as a fallback. It's always best to make up the twist on the fly to subvert character, the party's expectations, things like that. But if nothing obvious presents itself, or maybe I'm having a blank night and I can't come up with anything on the spot, we can fall back to the default twist, which was comms tower, powered on, rift reactor, and attracted insectoids. So now that's not a great twist, and it may be a little tough. I'll have to go to some lengths to divulge that, reveal that to the characters through play, but it should be doable. It's something. It's better than nothing. So they can find out sometime throughout the adventure that the insectoids never would have come if they hadn't set up their relay tower. Unfortunate. Okay, and this in the bottom right hand corner is just a spot to do any diagrams, small maps, relational map or diagram. I like to help get my head around this. I do something like just a relational diagram. So I put like a blob here and say this is town, and then, you know, outside town is a bit of wilderness, kind of, and then outside that is ruins. We'll just put ruins, and then we'll put a little circle around town. So they have to go through the wilderness for a little while, and then they're into the wilderness ruins after this border. I don't know, we might want to give it some thought, like a 3-hour walk kind of distance measurement. So to get to the edge of the ruins, you have to walk 3 hours, and then we'll have, like, out in the ruins, we'll have a relay tower. I don't know. Does that look like a tower? Sure. Tower. DB's camp. And then the rift will be a little bit farther out. Rift. And the coalition is, we'll put CS patrol question mark. They're somewhere out here in the wilderness. So that's just a quick idea of when we leave town, we could run into the coalition, the DB camp, the patrol, the tower. Any of them first, continuing on, then we'll get to the rift. Just kind of as a general layout of overview, I guess, of how I'm gonna run this. So that would be the extent of the railroading, I guess. And that is the general overview of my first take at kind of writing down, codifying this adventure writing template. So you can download this for free. Check the description for a link. It's from my Ko-Fi, Coffee, whatever site. You can download it there. All right. So maybe next up, stay tuned and we'll possibly look at playing through or stepping through how this could play out. And we'll go from there. Roll on.